Hello friends, and welcome back to a new video. It is Joe back with you. A little sick, so my voice may sound a little funny, but today it is upgrade time because we have jumped to the LG V20. Guys, I have to say that I am thoroughly impressed with this phone. I got it Tuesday, it's Friday now, the official launch for most carriers in the US. So I wanted to take you through my first impressions and a mini review of the LG V20. Hey guys, let's take a look. So I'm a pretty calculated guy, and when I make purchases, I don't just go willy-nilly into a store and pick something up. And so I've been debating for a while on what phone I was going to pick up next after the Nexus 6. Absolutely love that device, but wanted an upgrade for a few reasons. And the first being a better camera. And the LG V20 does not disappoint in this category. First off, it has two cameras, as you can see in the back, which is pretty awesome. It has a 16 megapixel normal shooter here, and that's your normal lens. This is great for just about everything you're gonna take. But then they added a wide angle lens for some fun extra shots. This is great when you're trying to get some landscape pictures, when you're trying to get everybody in a family photo, whatever it is, the wide really helps it. There is some distortion on the edges of, kind of give that barrel a little bit. It's not crazy blown out or anything, so it really does add a lot to the camera and makes it for some great extra shots. One thing to note about the two cameras is that your primary shooter is a 1.8 aperture, so it's great in low light, but your wide angle lens is a 2.4 aperture, so it does get a little bit more noticeably grainy in low light compared to the main shooter. The main lens does have optical image stabilization and the laser autofocus that LG is known for, and it does great. It's maybe not quite as fast as the S7 with its phase focus, but it does great in getting the shot quickly and effectively. I haven't had any issues with focusing yet, like I have with some older phones in the past. On the camera app here, LG makes it extremely easy to switch between the two. You have the one tree or the three trees. So your normal closer in shot with the 16 megapixel sensor or the 8 megapixel sensor with the wide angle. So that way you can kind of switch between them quick and easy. Manual modes on this thing is really where it shines. So when you look on here, you have manual white balance, you can do pull focus, you can set your ISO, change the shutter speed. Just about anything you would want on an SLR, you can do with this. Something they added with the video recording is this Steadicam 2.0, and it really does help with your video recordings. Something to note is you can't do this in 4K, and you cannot do this in 1080-60, as far as I can tell. But 1080, 30 frames, anything or less than that, you can use Steadicam 2.0, and this adds some extra software stabilization to your shots. It already has the optical image stabilization, but this adds some EIS, and it really does help overall to make it less jumbly when you're using handheld shots, and I've enjoyed that. Here's handheld with the main shooter, the 16 megapixel. This is 1080p, 30 frames. Now I'm going to switch to the wide angle. You can see the Steady Shot 2.0 coming in a little bit there to help out the handheld shots. You have a full manual control in both your camera modes as well in your video modes, which is absolutely awesome. I was at a concert just this week and got to test it out, and being able to change the shutter speed and the ISO on the fly is incredible. At the concert there was changing lights and things like that. Being able to bump it up and down to adjust to that made for such a good experience with this camera. Speaking of a good experience, one of the things that really is awesome on this are the microphones. There's a few spread out throughout this device, and it does some incredible audio. These microphones are going to give you 24-bit, 48 kilohertz audio recording, and this is just, they sound great. So whether you're doing concerts or maybe even doing some voiceovers, you could really use this. I've seen a few videos where they use the entire voiceover just with the V20. That's some high quality stuff. So people that are starting out YouTube channels or really just trying to get some great quality video, this is one of the best phones that can be used for that. With the microphone set up here, it's really great because they have a lot of control going with that manual theme. They have a way that you can change it so that if the person is away from you and speaking towards it, you can cut out some of the audio from behind it and vice versa. So there's a little toggle that if you're trying to get audio in front of the camera, you can switch it, or if it's behind it here with you, you can do the directivity of the microphones. So that can cut out some extra noises, as well as a wind filter, and you can change some gain and a limiter to cut out some wind or whatever you need to cut out in that situation. For all you selfie fanatics, the front-facing shooter is a 5 megapixel 1.9 aperture lens. It's a fairly wide angle, and you can switch between the wide angle and closer crop shot. This is great for getting your friends in your selfie, doing whatever, video chat, etc. It does okay. It's a little grainy. It's not the best quality as I've seen in some other phones, but it gets the job done. So testing out this front-facing camera a little bit. It has this crop-in feature here, or the default, the normal wide angle. That's nice for getting everybody in the frame. But it does pretty well at adjusting light, as the sun's over that way. It does pretty well to pick that up, and this is an auto for the front-facing. You guys get to hear and see what it sounds like. Couple basics on the phone. On your left side of the phone, you have the volume rockers. I'm traditionally used to that on the right side, but I got used to it pretty quick. On the top, there's just a microphone and the IR blaster. On the bottom, you have the USB-C port, another microphone, and your speaker and a headphone jack. Around back, you have the cameras, flash, and autofocus, as well as your on-off button with a fingerprint sensor. Fingerprint sensor here is quick and effective. I've had no issues, and I've actually really enjoyed it being on the back. That's what just natural for me, pulling it out of my pocket, tapping it, and going. I've thoroughly enjoyed the screen on this. It's an LCD screen, and I was a little bit disappointed with that. It's an IPS display. I love AMOLEDs. I love my Nexus 6 AMOLED screen, but this has absolutely no issues with it. It's clear, it's crisp, colors do well, and this nice sharpness of it. So I had no issues with this screen. Would have loved the AMOLED, but I haven't had any complaints here so far. So one of the things that's pretty cool with the extra feature on the LG V20 is this second screen at the top. This is always on, so you're always going to get the date and your time and the battery. So that's a good thing, that's just quickly that you can see at a glance. But then when you switch over, there are some quick settings. There are controls for music and things like that, so you can stop, start, and switch through your music without having to turn on and off your main display. You can add your most used apps. That way you can quickly switch through, and if you're in the middle of something, you can just jump to that app. This is one of my favorite things. I could be in the middle of watching a YouTube video or something like that and need to text someone and just hit it on the top without having to go through to my home screen or having to go through multitasking to get to another app or whatever. I can just quickly and effectively get to that. So you can set it up for quick tools, app shortcuts, music player, quick contacts for people that you talk to often, whether it be phone or whatever, recent apps that you've just used recently, or your signature, which I think is kind of tacky, and I took it off immediately. It kind of defaults to that, but I kind of think that's silly. I'm not going to use it. This is a 5.7 inch screen, so guys, it is pretty big. As you can see here, my hand is huge, but this does look pretty sizable in my hand still. If you have small hands or just not used to something over like a 5.5 inch screen, with the second screen on top, it's going to be huge in your hands. You will not be used to it for quite a while. So maybe play around with it in a store in Best Buy or one of your carriers. See if it's something that you can even handle. For me, I'm used to the Nexus 6 with that 6-inch screen, so this wasn't any issue for me. And so if you look at that, it's really not much smaller than the Nexus 6. It's definitely not as wide as the Nexus 6, as you can see here, to give you a little bit of an idea of the size of it. I'm not a huge fan of the LG UX 5.0 with their home screen. They took away your app drawer and just made it so that it's kind of like the iPhone and iOS with just swiping through all of your apps. So pretty much with every phone that I get, I put on the smart launcher right away. And that's what I did with this, and it's just more enjoyable for me. You can go back in to the settings. You can put it back to UX 4.0 for the home screen, which does have an app drawer and is a little bit more what you're used to with your Android experience. Okay, the not so fun part. My least favorite thing about this phone is the speaker. Don't get me wrong, it is loud and it is clear and it's pretty enjoyable, but it's downward facing. There's only one of them. I just got so spoiled with the Nexus 6 and its front-facing speakers that are loud and clear and sound great, but that's just something to be aware of. This is something that kind of blew me away with this phone, is the Hi-Fi Quad DAC. You heard it right. That is a quad DAC. It's a digital analog converter, and this adds clarity and some loudness to it. It just makes your music just kind of pop. So every instrument, all the vocals, you can just hear it just a little bit better. So when you put really good studio headphones on with these and just immerse yourself with the music, it's noticeable. When you take it off and put it back on, it hits you quickly. You just notice a huge difference. So absolutely love the quad DAC. Maybe not for everybody, but it's something that I'm so happy that LG added to this phone. The LG V20 was one of the first out of the box to get Android Nougat, Android 7.0. And there's some small minor changes in 7.0 that really make it a smooth experience. One of the things I really love with 7.0 is now into Nougat they have baked in the multi-window feature. And this is actually done really well. I find myself watching a YouTube video and scrolling through Facebook or whatever, and it's done well, and it makes it so that it's kind of seamless. With other versions in the past that I've used, I didn't really use it much because it wasn't so seamless, but now that it's baked into Nougat, it makes it a lot more fluid. Overall, some of the polish with battery saving and some other features with Nougat, it makes for a great experience with the UI overall on this phone. Skins are what they are. They are a little clunky at times, and there's a lot of extra apps on here that I deleted right away. The V20 feels right at home with LG's UI. There's actually smoother and a little cleaner here at this point, and I've had no issues with any stuttering or anything like that. It's smooth and fast is what you would expect with the Snapdragon 820 chip in here. LG wasn't messing around when they made this phone. It has this airplane grade aluminum and it just feels great in your hand. Obviously I rock a case on it, but when I'm not, man, does that feel good? There's just something about having a nice metal phone that feels great. It's pretty sleek and fits pretty well in my hands, but overall there's small bezels and it makes for a sleek overall good look for this phone. Something of an anomaly at this point, it does have a removable back, removable battery, and micro SD expansion with the SIM card slot. That's something that's kind of neat that it's of Android of old, and I appreciate that they added that, and it makes it an extra nice feature if I want to pick up another battery to keep it going all day. Speaking of the battery, this is a 3200 milliamp battery in here, and I've just experienced okay battery life so far. These few days I've turned it on in the morning and gotten through the day with no issues. You're not going to see a crazy battery life with this, but I haven't experienced any problem where I'm like running to the charger trying to finish out the last of the day. I've pretty much gotten through every day, just maybe topping it off just a little bit in the afternoon if I'm doing real heavy with video or other things. Well, there you have it, friends. This has been my thoughts and a little bit of a review on the LG V20. The first phone that came out was announced at least with the Android 7.0 Nougat. It's got this dual camera design for the wide angle and the regular shooter that does great with manual controls for both video and photos that I absolutely love. The second screen adds a lot of functionality and some things that you can do a little bit faster and help with notifications and other things, which is always on. The quad DAC is just a glorious thing. If you're a music lover, just enjoy some clear, crisp audio. The microphones on here are just great at picking up just about every situation. Can do some voiceovers and some great audio for your videos in the future. Like I said before, my only complaint is this downward facing single speaker, but it is loud and fairly clear, and for most people, it will do the job. There you have it, my friends. I'm absolutely loving the LG V20, and I'm excited to get more in depth with this over in the future. I'm going to do some comparison with some other phones, the S7 and the Pixel phone. We'll see some camera shootouts and some other things. Stay tuned, like and subscribe to the channel for more future coverage of this device and many more. Thank you for watching, my friends. It has been a pleasure. As always, keep it classy. You're beautiful, my friends. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it.